Hi, everybody. I am Leo Babauta from Zen Habits. So happy to be here with you. In this video, I'm going to talk about a simple way to tackle your overflowing inbox. So we're talking about email inbox, but I think the same thing can be applied to other inboxes. For example, maybe you have messages. Maybe you have a team messaging platform. And so we're going to focus on email, but imagine that the same principles can be applied to any set of like messaging type inboxes. Okay, so the first thing is actually just an acknowledgement that it can be tough to deal with inboxes. When I first started writing about this and digging into productivity, inbox zero was a thing. And this came from the methodology of getting things done by David Allen, and then was adapted to a thing called Inbox Zero by Merlin Mann, who both of those men are brilliant people. So uh, great stuff, but the idea of keeping our inbox down to zero, it can be a lot of pressure. And actually, I think it's impossible to really maintain. And even Merlin, clarifies that, it's not about having an empty inbox all the time. That's like madness, right? It's not even a meaningful goal. And so Merlin just talks about the philosophy, the approach of inbox zero. And we're going to talk a little bit about that today. I'm not espousing an inbox zero exactly an approach, but I think that there are some things from that we can glean and use in our very simple approach to clearing out or dealing with our inboxes. And so the first thing I want to acknowledge is that it is difficult. If you are someone who's busy and you've got a lot going on, you can have a lot of emails or messages coming into you. And so, I'm one of those people. I get a lot of emails. I am pretty decent at staying on top of that most of the time. I go through periods where I fall behind and I have to catch up, so I'm not perfect. But I rarely have an actual empty inbox. It does happen, and I like it. It feels nice to like actually clear out the inbox. Right now, I have 2 emails waiting for a response from me. In general. And I think that's actually a really low amount for me. Um, and so that's unusual. I actually tackled it pretty well over the last couple of days. But for the most part, I might have 5 to 10 emails sitting in that inbox, and that's okay. We're not trying to get to zero. So it's difficult, and if you do get to zero, which I do sometimes, it can be discouraging because you're like, I cleared it out, amazing. And then 10 minutes later, you've got 5 in there. And then 2 hours later, there's 20. So like it's a never ending kind of battle. You feel like a little bit like Sisyphus, like pushing that boulder up the hill over and over again. So we're not trying to get to zero. It is difficult. What I really want to talk about is just a process. How do we actually have a methodology for tackling our inboxes so that we can not get too overwhelmed by them? Well, we don't want zero. We don't want to get to zero every day. But what we also don't want is to have 10,000 emails in our inbox, which is not an uncommon situation. If you're one of those, that you can maybe relate to, like the inbox then just becomes a little bit useless. You just have 10,000 things sitting in there. Really, like there's no meaningful way to deal with that. So how do we actually approach this in a way that feels fairly simple? So the first thing I want to say is if you are someone who has 10,000, what I really like you to do is to go through your inbox, just the first, few dozen, maybe there's 100 you can go through and star them. If you're in Gmail, just press the star for the ones that are most important that need action. So just go through the last 50 or 100 emails, just look through them and star the ones you're like, I know I need to get on top of these ones, star them. And then um, take all those star ones and archive them out of the inbox. So they're now in your starred folder. If you're using another program like Microsoft, there's other things that are similar to star. Maybe it's a flag or something. I don't remember. I haven't used Microsoft in a long time, but you get the idea, right? There's some kind of thing that highlights it as a thing that needs to be responded to or taken action on, and you get it out of your inbox. I'm going to recommend software that works with Gmail. I don't know if it works with Microsoft Teams or Outlook, but it's a software called Shortwave. I am not sponsored by them. I've been using them for a few months and I really like them, maybe 6 months. Shortwave I'm on the free plan. I think they have a paid plan as well. But it's a software that connects to your Gmail. It's one of those ones that use your Gmail as a back end, but it gives you a new front end. There's a few things that Shortwave does that I'm going to recommend here in this video. But if you've got 10,000 things, go through and star the ones that need action and archive them. And then what I want you to do is archive all the rest as well. So basically archive the thousands of emails that are in your inbox. You don't need them in there. Just star the ones that need action. If you want to go through 100, go through 100. If you want to go through 200, go ahead. It's unlikely if an email is sitting in your inbox and it's hundreds or thousands of emails down below, it's unlikely that you'll ever need to deal with that. So I'd like you just to go through and star the ones that are going to need some action and then archive everything. So now the ones that really need action are in your starred folder. Okay. So if you're not one of those ones with 10,000 emails or 1,000 or 500, maybe you've got a normal, a reasonable amount. So that's, let's say, a couple of dozen, maybe a few dozen emails in your inbox. I still think that the same thing applies, but I'm going to give you the first mode of dealing with it. And there's actually going to be two modes that we're going to use to deal with your inbox. The first mode is triage. And in triage, what we want to do, this is something that I do every single day, maybe twice a day. I will go through and I will just process the inbox as quickly as possible. And so when I say triage, what I will do is just archive the ones I don't need to see. I'm like, okay, I got this promotional email, I got a newsletter that I don't really care about. Maybe I'll unsubscribe from that. Maybe I've got some notifications from different services that it's cool that they're there, but I don't really need them. So I just go through and I archive, clear out as many as possible. So I'm doing that. And at the same time, if there's something that needs action, I will either star it if I'm using Gmail, or if I'm using Shortwave, I will actually create a to-do. So one of the things that Shortwave has is an ability to create a to-do from an email that's in your inbox. And so you just select it and you go create to-do, and you can change the to-do's name to not the subject line of the email, but to an actual action, like, fill out form 8802 and send it to my agent. So that's an actual action. Whereas the email might be like, hey, following up on this thing that you need to do. And so the email's subject line is not a actionable action most of the time. So you change it to a to-do that's an actual actionable action. It's a mouthful. An actual actionable action. So now you have a list of to-dos that you need to go through and do later, but not in the triage part. So again, in the triage, I'm clearing out the emails that I don't need in my inbox, and then I create to-dos for the rest. Now, if you're not using Shortwave, you can use the star or a to-do kind of thing in Microsoft Outlook or Teams. But you can use a star thing to make to be actionable actions. So so in that case, just star the ones and then move them out. And now your star folder is your action folder. In Shortwave, your to-do list is your action folder. Alternatively, you can just move things into an action folder, but you can also note them on a to-do list, whether it's a paper to-do list or your to-do list program or a document that you open up and you just start typing out things to do. So for example, let's say I have an email that fill out this tax form. I write it out, fill out tax form for my agent. And then I move this email into my action folder. So now I have a list of to-dos and I have the emails in a certain folder to deal with, but I'm not dealing with them in the triage stage. All I'm doing is putting them into the action folder or making a to-do list, and then clearing out everything else. A third thing I might do in triage is do quick replies. So if something takes a sentence or two to reply to, like, hey, thank you for that, great. I just reply and get it out of my inbox. So to repeat, the first mode is triage. I do it once or twice a day, and I clear out the emails that don't need to be there. I put to-dos for the other ones that I need to take actions on, and I do quick replies. And those quick replies, I get them out of the inbox as well. And what that means is that your inbox is going to be pretty much empty, or at least as much as you can triage, it'll be empty. So a couple of more notes about triage is you don't need to get to empty. You know, that's why I triage like twice a day, is I'll do 10 minutes of triage and get it as empty as possible. Later, I'll do 10 minutes of triage and get it as empty as possible. I might not actually get to empty. That's okay. I'm doing the processing that needs to be done, which is clearing out things that don't need to be there, quick replies, tasks. And that clears everything out as much as you can. And I like to just do like 10, maybe 15 minutes of triage. If you do that twice a day, you'll stay on top of your emails. Okay, what you might notice is there are still some emails that need to be dealt with that are in your starred folder or your to-do list, or your action folder, however you decide to deal with that. So that's mode number 2, and that's action mode. In action mode, we're going to actually tackle the actions required. And for that, I like to set aside 30 minutes once a day. I find that 30 minutes once a day actually has me taking the actions needed. Now, I might not get to all the actions, but if I'm doing 30 minutes a day on these actions, I'm doing pretty good. And so I will set aside 30 minutes each day. This is after the first triage. I will do 30 minutes and I will tackle the first thing on the to-do list or the starred folder. So the first action item. And I will go through one by one and tackle it. Now, it might take a 5-minute reply. It might take 2 minutes. It's rare that it's going to take 10 minutes. If it's something that's going to be longer than 10 minutes, let's say it's like, okay, I need to go through and fill out a tax questionnaire, and that's going to take me 45 minutes. Well, for that, I will actually block off some time for that, either later in that day or later in the week or next week. But some time I'll actually set aside a time for a major task like that, which is going to be 45 minutes to an hour. I'm going to block that off for another time. It's not going to be in my 30-minute blocks for processing tasks. So again, if I need to write something and it's going to take me 2 hours to do, I'll block that off somewhere else, not in the 30 minutes. So the 30 minutes is for the smaller tasks that it's going to take me 5 to 10 minutes, maybe 2 minutes for some of them. And I'll just go through one at a time. Now, when I open them, what I'll notice is that I have, some resistance. So I just need to breathe and tackle that. And then I might take a quick break, go get some glass of water, move around, and then I go back and I do the next one. And I keep doing that in and out until the 30 minutes is over. And now I've either cleared out those tasks or I've put a big dent in it. I've done a big chunk. And so to recap, there are two modes. One is triage, where you're clearing out unwanted emails or unneeded emails. You're making tasks and you're doing quick replies. And in this triage, you're clearing out as much as you can in your inbox. And then the second mode is what I would do 30 minutes of actual actions. And you go through those tasks until you've cleared out as many as possible. Now, you might not get to all of your actions in that 30 minutes. That's okay. Do it the next day, do it the next day. But you're regularly committing yourself to taking the actions needed. And I find that that's enough. You might find that you need 45 minutes or an hour, but block it off. Block it off on your calendar. I wanted to share a couple more things about Shortwave. Again, not sponsored by them. I'm not going to get any affiliate stuff. But I like the software. Not only can you put tasks, make tasks or to-dos out of emails, which really, really helps manage those emails. But it does some automatic kind of grouping of emails that I really like. One of them is promotions, one is newsletters, and one is notifications. And those are emails that are not that important. And so it basically bundles those together and delivers them into my inbox in one big group, one big bundle, once a day. And you can set, if you want it twice a day, and you can set what time. But I get bundles for notifications, promotional emails, and newsletters. I think those are the main ones. Yeah. So, notifications are things from different apps, and they're like notifying me. My bank might have sent me a notification. YouTube sends me, if you guys comment, I get notifications there. And so basically it's this big list. Maybe it's like 10 to 20 notifications every day. It comes in this one big bundle. I click on that bundle. It expands. I go through it. Takes me 2 minutes to go through 20 emails that are just notifications. And then I just press mark all as done, and it clears it all out. There's a few times when I need to reply to something like a YouTube comment, and I'll click on that thing and it'll open up in my browser, and I'll go through and do it really quickly. But otherwise, I just kind of like read through the notifications and mark them all as done. Done. And that takes me, again, 2 minutes to do. And then I have promotions, and those are usually people's, sending me marketing emails and things like that. I go through those, mark all as done, takes me 30 seconds. Newsletters are ones that I might actually want to read. And so I might just take 10 minutes to go through and read newsletters that I've subscribed to in my inbox. Or I might be like, yeah, I don't care about that this week. I'll archive it. And if I get them and I'm not really reading them, I might actually unsubscribe. But they get bundled into a newsletter bundle. And so I get these bundles once a day, and I can tell them when I want them. And I just go through and I clear them out. And it really helps declutter my inbox. So I really like that bundle thing. Shortwave also organizes your inbox in a way that I think is helpful. So you have the important emails, you have your to-dos, and then you have other emails basically. And that's a separate tab. And to me, that helps keep things a little more like focused. Oops. So I like Shortwave for those reasons. You don't need it for this approach. The approach that I'm giving you is one mode of triage, again, 10 to 15 minutes, and then another mode of action, which again, 30 minutes every day. And that's the approach that I think is fairly simple, and it really keeps things under control in your inbox. Again, you can apply this to your messages and your team communication tool, whether it's Slack or Asana or Jira or whatever it is that you do. We all have inboxes like that, and it really helps to have an approach that works pretty well. Okay, that's what I've got for you. My friends, I hope that this has been helpful. Give me a thumbs up if this was helpful. Give me a comment and let me know what helped. Maybe you have some tips for others that might help, some tools that you use that you really like. And then subscribe. I would love for you to subscribe. We're trying to build a good community here in YouTube, and it really helps if you subscribe and share this with people you know. Thanks, my friends. I'll talk to you later.